Hi, I'm Matt Williams. Welcome to Glimpses. My guest today is a brilliant actress and singer. She originated the role of Abuela, I'm not
Abuela.
Spanish, Abuela,
Right.
Claudia in the Broadway musical In the Heights, for which she received a Tony nomination for Best Performance by a featured actress in a musical. She played the role for the show's entire Broadway run and reprised the role in the film adaptation. She has numerous television credits. They go on and on and on, a lot of credits. But she's here on Glimpses because she happens to be one of my favorite people.
Oh, thank you, Matt.
So, Olga Merediz, welcome to Glimpses.
Delighted to be here.
We have lots to talk about, but the first thing I want to talk about is your childhood because you were born in Guantanamo, Cuba in the 50s,
Correct.
the Castro era,
Correct.
and you were what, 5, 6 years old when you went to.
5 when we escaped, but we told everybody we were just going away for the weekend to Jamaica and that we would be right back. But the plan was to leave and just get out because we were able to get out because it was those years that people were it was an exciting time, but it was a frightening time for the people that knew what was going on. And my father, thank God, he really knew what was going on and he said, we have to go. We have to go now. And so and then we were on a journey to see where we were going to land.
And you went to Miami first, right?
We landed in Jamaica, the island of Jamaica, and we were there for a little while. And then we went to Miami, but only for 2 years. And then we went back to the Caribbean to Puerto Rico, where we settled for many years. And then I went to college in the States, and then I came back to the mainland.
So, do you still dream about Cuba and think about Cuba? And how did that shape who you are as not only as a human being but as a performer? I mean, did
Well, yes, I dream about Cuba. I think about Cuba. I send care packages to Cuba. I shot a documentary in Cuba.
we're going to talk about that?
Right. So I'm still connected. It's something that I can't let go because it's part of who I am. And it sort of informed my performance of Abuela Claudia in the Heights. So all those layers of that woman is within me. And I was able to give that woman the weight and the wisdom and the knowledge and all of that past was with me when I performed that character. So yes, I'm very much a Cuban, but also American,
Yes.
both.
Well, let's talk about that film because it's called My Two Moms,
Oh, right, my documentary.
a
Yes.
story of separation. It's a documentary. I'll just read so people who don't know about it yet. Olga Merediz is a well-known New York-based actress, decides to return to her birthplace, Guantanamo, Cuba, to reunite with the nanny her family was forced to leave behind after the Cuban Revolution. In the journey, she not only discovers how truly connected they are, but also the bond she shares with her complex biological mother. That's fascinating. Tell us about this movie. I mean, how did it come about? Who directed it? How did you shoot in Cuba? I've got 100 questions.
Well, Matt, this movie was a true miracle, okay? Because it was a story I always had inside of me, but all of a sudden I said, I have to do this now. My mother was already in her 90s. My nanny, Madalena, was in her 80s. And I said, these women are elderly and anything could happen. I need to do this story now and I need to Cuba. And you know how sometimes when you make a decision in life, you say, I'm going to do this. All of a sudden, things show up. The universe kind of, things show up. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm okay, I've got a crew in Cuba because a friend of a friend got me a contact. And I've got some guys in Cuba that are willing to shoot with me down there. And the guy had contacts, so I was able to safely shoot down there, but it was always kind of like, hurry up and shoot this before anybody comes and takes our cameras. I don't know. We were only in Cuba for 4.5 days. That's it.
Wow. Okay.
A lot of footage we couldn't use. We lost the sound man the first 45 minutes. It was crazy, but we got that footage. And then I realized as I was shooting that this is about more than just returning to Cuba and your roots. This is about forgiveness, redemption, what it means to be a caretaker, what it means to be a mother, what it means, how your childhood informs your adult life, how, and putting it, I sort of put the piece, I had it all with me, but it was a documentary, so it started informing me, and then I realized at the end I was missing a piece, and then it was the height of COVID, so I couldn't go in person to see my mother, so I did it on the phone. So this story just came out like this, and I got it done.
And and is it? Am I correct that the premiere is at the Chelsea Film Festival?
Chelsea, New York Film Festival, October 15th now, but it's been in like 6 film festivals.
Great.
We've gotten some awards.
Wonderful.
And I'm in it. I directed it. I produced it. I did everything. Except post-production was a nightmare, as you know.
Yep.
But shooting it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
What I find fascinating, it's like for writers, there's a saying, no discovery for the writer, no discovery for the reader. That as you're writing, you're discovering who the characters are and it starts unfolding. It sounds like you had that experience with this film because you think it's going to be one thing.
Correct.
And then there's something almost magical when
Correct.
it starts informing you and you start following it. And that sounds like that's what happened.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm very proud of it. I've never done a movie before. And we just kind of pieced it together during COVID because we had the time and I had the time.
Yes.
And people are touched by it and they're relating to it and they're not Cubans, Cuban Americans.
Right.
So it's I'm very, very pleased with it.
Good. Well, I'm so thrilled for you. And I happened to watch an interview you did a while ago because I like to do my homework.
Oh.
And in that interview, you were talking about what your parents instilled in you. And 2 words or 2 phrases came out. You said when you moved to this country, it was assimilate, and work hard. And you said in that interview, no matter how many times you get knocked down, you just continue to get up and work hard. And as I was watching that interview, I went, of course, this is you. You are a working actress, have been for almost 4 decades.
Right.
And you do voiceovers, you do films, you do animation, you've done it all, and you've worked very hard for all these years. So your parents instilled the right work ethic, let me put it that way.
They sure did. They were hard workers and they wanted me to, this is our country now, we have to assimilate. And we're going to keep our culture, of course, and our music and our food and all of that. But we are now Americans and we need to work our butts off.
Yeah. And you did.
That's what I did.
Well, when did you know you wanted to be an actor? In Cuba when you were 5 or in Miami or Puerto Rico? When did you go for the first time, I think I want to stand in front of people and perform? When did that bug first bite you?
Well, I was going to be something else. I was going to be like an international foreign relations something or other, learn 5 languages. But I was always in the drama department and the music department,
Right.
like on the side as a hobby. And then I did in Tulane University, I did a show, Man of La Mancha. And that was the show that I said, wait a minute, maybe I should try this out. So when I'm, 85 in a rocking chair, not in a rocking chair anymore. They don't do that anymore.
On a scooter or a Vespa at 85.
Exactly.
How's that?
Right, exactly. I'm not looking back saying I should have done this. I should have. But it was kind of like a dare. It was kind of like an experiment. But I moved to New York and it happened so quickly.
How long were you in New York before you started working?
I was technically in the Washington, D.C. area, and my first professional job was dinner theater at the Rockville Dinner Theater in Maryland. And then I was driving people to New York for their auditions, because that's the kind of person I was. driving 80 miles an hour for people to go to their auditions. And I went, wait a minute, I should audition. And then I auditioned. In the first couple of weeks, I got a leading role in a musical off Broadway that was destined for Broadway. I hadn't even moved to New York. I had to hurry up and move.
People are going to want to jump through this podcast and slap you. You were in New York for 2 weeks before you book a major role.
Well, the people in the cast hated me. They were like, "You don't understand. This doesn't happen. You're so lucky." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I didn't know anything.
But
I had William Morris calling me, and I was like, "Do you know a guy named William Morris?" I didn't know anything about anything.
Well, ignorance is bliss. I mean, truly, you came in completely naive, open to any possibility, and look what happened.
Right. And then it was just a role from there. I got agents. I was doing voiceovers. I was doing films. I was doing films where I didn't know what I was doing. But I was in front of a camera, and I learned on the job, you know.
So you were in your 20s when you did that?
Early 20s.
Early 20s. Oh my gosh, what a journey. So I have to talk about this because Encanto is one of my favorite films. I watch it with nieces and nephews, and you played Alma Madrigal.
The singing voice
The
only.
singing voice.
Right.
But I want to ask you, what is it like to watch yourself be animated, or your voice, and you're singing up there, and it's your voice, but you're watching this, quote, cartoon?
It's surreal, really, because it's me, but it's not me, but it's an amalgamation. Because what the animators are so brilliant, they take a piece of your essence and they kind of mold it into the animation. So you're seeing a piece of you, you know.
That's what I was going to ask, because you record that ahead of time.
Yes.
And then they watch you sing.
Right.
And as you're singing, then they incorporate facial tics or expressions. And
That's right.
did you see yourself, though? Did you go, oh, I guess I do that?
Yeah, I've seen myself in animations that I've done, and it's surreal to see that. You know, it's fun.
Well, you've worked with Lin-Manuel Miranda.
He's amazing.
I have a confession. When I grow up, I want to be Lin-Manuel. That is my goal. Because everyone is in awe of this man's talent. Now, he obviously respects you. He likes you because he keeps casting you and working with you.
Right.
What is the secret sauce between
His
you two?
secret-
His secret sauce and you working with him, because, you know, Scorsese will work with the same actors repeatedly because there's just a shorthand, or there's a chemistry that works. What is his secret sauce?
He knows that he can count on me. You know, he knows
Yeah.
I will show up 150%.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be there. I will work as a team. I will be there for the director, and I will be there for him. And he knows that, you know, and I have the talent to back it up. He knows I can do the job, and he knows he can count on me. You know what I mean? And his secret sauce is his childhood.
Yes.
He grew up with amazing parents. Mother was a psychologist, so she nurtured his feelings and his creativity.
Yes.
And the father was a very strong father figure that showed up for him, very strong masculine presence there, and so the sky's the limit.
And the cultural heritage informs so much,
Exactly.
and yet it's so universal. It's, you know, we all know this. The more specific it is, the more universal it becomes, right?
You're absolutely right.
Because I was, a few years ago, I was in Basque country at the south of France with my wife, Angelina, and we were on this farm. And there was someone there, he's Basque, and he raises sheep. And we were talking, and at the time I said, so to make conversation, what's your favorite movie? What movie have you seen that you really like? He said, Fences. And I said, the August Wilson play, that's the film with Denzel Washington and Viola Davis? And he goes, Fences. And I said, why? He says, because that's my dad.
Wow, you see?
And I went, oh my gosh. So you're talking about a garbage man in Pittsburgh who's African American, and he's a Basque shepherd, and he's talking about, that's my father in that film. And I went, that's the key to art. It connects us. No matter where you live in the world, no matter your cultural background, that deep spiritual human connection is what art generates.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And like my documentary is a very, very small, very personal movie about me. And people are connecting to it because they see their mother,
Yes.
they see their family. And it's, yeah, you're so right. You're so right about that.
Yeah. It's that. Well, let's talk a little bit, because before this podcast, you were you were saying, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. And you've done it. You've had a brilliant career. You have, and you're a joy to work with. I will testify to that. You played George Lopez's mother on
Right.
St. George, and you were constantly a delight on the set. You showed up prepared. You did your work. It was fun. You were just remarkable. And you've, like you said, you've done film, you've done live stage, you've done all of this. Where are you in your life right now? What are you thinking about doing? And you said a phrase before we started this podcast. You said, "How will I serve?" And I find that fascinating, because that's what, at this ripe old age, every morning I wake up and first I say, thank you. Thank you. And the second thing I say is, how can I be of service today? What do you need me to do? How can I be of service? And by that, I'm talking about God, universe, whatever spirit label you want to put on it. But how it really is about serving others. And are you at that point in your life? Were you thinking about that?
You know, I am at that point. I have had a wonderful career, worked with some amazing people. I mean, when I think I've worked with Sidney Lumet and Alan Parker and John Cassavetes and Meryl Streep and Robert Redford and Lin-Manuel Miranda and George Lopez and so many wonderful people, and had a really good run. And now it's something about age that it just hits you all of a sudden. And you go, I've done this. I'm grateful. I respect the career, but I'm ready for a new adventure, to do something new. And I am now starting to ask, what is my purpose? What is my purpose at this stage of my life? And how can I serve? And I'm still searching. I don't have a clear path because I'm kind of right in the middle. And I'm doing a second workshop of an amazing Broadway show next week, by the way. But it's a wonderful piece. It's the remake of Imitation of Life
Oh,
as a Broadway musical, and it's going to be, by the way, it's going to be fantastic.
okay.
It's about race and it's beautiful. But
It's a fantastic film. It's an old film. What, from the 40s?
I think from the 50s. Oh no, it
50s.
could be 40s.
Late 40s, early 50s.
Correct.
Right. Right.
And it's going to be fantastic. But I'm helping them develop it, but I don't know. I will be in Spain when they do the 8 shows a week, probably.
I hope not fighting a bull.
No.
You're not going to become a bullfighter in the second half of your life.
Like that. But I'm at that age where I don't need, I spent my life, actors, Matt. We go through hoops to audition, to do the roles that we do. We are kind of at the mercy of other people, saying other people's lines. Just stand in your line and say your lines, And we're kind of like little puppy dogs, like, pick me, love me, and when you think about auditioning, Matt, we get an audition, we drop everything, we study, we memorize, we coach, we buy a new outfit, women, hair and makeup. We pour our hearts and souls into this role, whatever it is, we can do it. And then not only do we not get it, but we never hear anything back. So you are pouring yourself into this void, and you spend years and years and decades doing that, and it does something to you. And I finally said, what am I doing? What am I doing? You have no power at all. And so you get to an age where you go, I want to do something that comes from me, an original thought from me, and what I want to do, and I want to discover other worlds and live another life.
Well, you hit on something I write a little bit about this in my book, that when you're training to be an actor, a singer, dancer, performer, they never prepare you for the rejection. Because if I'm a vacuum cleaner salesman or a car salesman and you don't buy the vacuum or the car, you're rejecting the product. When you're an actor, you are the product. So they're rejecting you. And when you don't know why they're rejecting you, and it may be as simple as she reminds me of my sister-in-law, or I don't know, she's the wrong eye color. It could be something so arbitrary. And yet for 2 weeks, you walk around going, what did I do? I should have said the line this way. Why did I do that? Right? And it's that constant worm in your head, just questioning, questioning, questioning. What did I do wrong? How can I do it better?
Yes, and when you have been rejected in your early life,
Yes.
okay, or you've had some kind of trauma, or you've been, psychologically abused in some way, you gravitate towards this business, and you repeat that pattern.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm finally growing up.
Well, don't you find that when you first get into the business, in your early 20s or whatever, it is about approval and approbation, right? It is, look at me, watch what I can do. I made this, look at me, look at me. And then as you mature, you go, it's not really about me. And it is about what can I give? What can I do? How do I give back? And that can happen in your late 40s, 50s, 60s, but it does happen. I think it happens to everyone when suddenly you just realize I can be of service in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm not going to act anymore, but now I see it in a different light, like you say.
Right.
And I'm seeing it more as, how can I serve the piece?
Right.
How can I serve this story? How can I help this director create this movie or whatever, and be a part of a wonderful community or wonderful film? And it's not about me anymore.
No, your spark, your life force is way too strong for you to sit in the rocking chair or hop in a Vespa, right? You're going to do something, and it may be you don't even. It may be a different form of storytelling, because you have it, Olga. I think I say this to my students. I go, I can teach you how to structure a scene. I can't teach you how to be sensitive or how to be funny.
Oh, right.
And you're both,
Right.
and you're very funny. And I go, I really think when you're born, God bunks you on the head with a funny stick and goes, okay, you have humor in you, and you've got humor, you've got life. You are one of the most joyful people I know.
Thank you, Matt.
And
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
And I'm serious. You're always a delight.
You know what, Matt? I still want to sing, because I feel like singing comes from your soul, comes from deep within you. If you do it right, if you're not just worried about the technique in your throat and this, in my opinion, that if you are singing correctly, it comes from inside of you, deep within you. So I still want to do that in any shape or form, a musical, movie, animation. I still want to do that because it's very fulfilling.
Is there a spiritual aspect to your creativity? And I'm not talking about religious dogma. I'm not talking about, that. I'm talking about, is there a spiritual quality, or do you ever feel the character evolving and going, whoa, I don't know where that came from? Because that does happen when you write. You can have a writing session for 2 hours, put it down and come back and go, I don't know where that came from, but thank you. Do you ever have that?
That has happened to me when I'm performing, when I did the role of Abuela Claudia in The Heights. Sometimes I would be singing and I was like, I felt like I was on autopilot, and I would get goosebumps, on stage. It was frightening.
Yeah, like it
was like taking over, and it's frightening because you're in front of 1,000 people, and you are like a vessel, and it was very if I would allow myself, but I would get scared. If I allowed myself, it was just exhilarating, and I don't know where that would come from, you know. So I do think it's a spiritual. There is a spiritual connection, and I wake up every morning and I try to. I'm not religious, um, but I try to make. I try to. It's a form of prayer that so just that my day goes smoothly in New York City. Please let me, you know. So I feel connected. I do
Yeah.
feel connected.
Well, I do believe, and the older I get, the more I believe this, that praying and creating and praying are the same thing. And
And yes, making art.
making art, and it does become a form of prayer. And what you were talking about singing, I've heard dancers talk about, where all of a sudden I'm moving and I'm feeling it in a way I've never felt, and I go, or even a basketball player. I remember Bill Russell talked about being in the zone where he said I wouldn't even have to look. I would shoot and know the ball was already in, because it's that transcendent thing that happens during sports, during, I guess, falling in love, during
Right.
performances, that is bigger than yourself, you know? So that is one of the reasons, I think, selfishly, why performers keep performing, because when you get that high, it's awfully hard to replace.
Yes. Yes, I can attest to that when I did that role, and it's happened to me several times when I'm singing, and yeah, that is an incredible experience.
That's well. Let me ask you, because you still have all this life in you. You and you're very creative, and you're very smart, and you're very talented. Have you ever contemplated what you would do other than singing? And did you, as a kid, did you have a fantasy? I want to be a jet pilot fighter, or I want to be a cowgirl, or is there anything else that you contemplated growing up and going, I would, you said foreign relations or something like that, but w-
Well, I was thinking of running for mayor of New York City. What do you think?
I'm voting for you. I'm voting for you. I would be the first in line to cast my vote.
No,
I
I
don't know
don't
why
think
you
so,
would
Glenn.
want to do that, but I would vote for you in a second.
I think about it. I'm not going to do it, but I think that, you know, maybe maybe doing some kind of behind the cameras, maybe producing, maybe directing, maybe more writing,
Right?
um, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Uh, that's what I'm thinking right now. But also maybe somehow, you know, serving the young people that want to get into this
Right.
business, and helping them along. You know, because it's one thing, like you said, to learn how to be an actor, but it's the other side of the business that they don't prepare you
They
for.
don't prepare you for the business of the business.
Business
They
of the
teach you how to
business.
sing and dance and act, but they don't prepare you for that. And it is a business. It is called show business, and they need to be taught that.
Yes, exactly. And I have a lot of friends in, you know, that were even more talented than myself. And but they weren't I was really tough, you know. My parents really instilled that in me. And they never worked because they didn't have that other side of that toughness that you need. I remember auditioning. I had this secret weapon that I didn't even know I had it when I auditioned, because my friends would be like, "Oh my God, I did a terrible audition. I was that I, you know," and I would audition really well, and then I would get the job, and I go, "Oh my God, what am I going to do now?" And I would have this thing. I realized later that I would go into the room with, I guess, to protect myself
Hmm.
from rejection, from whatever, because you go into a, you used to, not now, now it's all this self-tape, but you would have to go into a room and there'd be a panel of people, like, you know, taking notes, and I would have this facade of, screw all of you, screw you all, here I am, this is what I have, you want it, here it is, you don't want it, screw you. That's how I would audition. So I would protect myself. I didn't even know I was doing that.
Well, I think tenacity over talent. You can have talent, but if you're not tenacious the way you are, and I think that I forgot what acting teacher said this. Used the phrase "flirt with arrogance," and
Okay.
and there's a certain degree of that, and it is that totally knowing who you are and walking in there and screw you all, I'm here.
Exactly. You can do that for a few minutes and then you can collapse.
Yeah.
But you got to hold it together for those few minutes, you
Right.
know? And so I used to do that a lot. And I'd go like, here I am, screw you all.
Well, it worked out because you got cast a lot. So,
Didn't even know I was doing it.
well, this podcast is called Glimpses because it's tied to the book that I've written called Glimpses, a comedy writer's take on life, love, and all that spiritual
And
stuff.
congratulations, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you. And the premise of the book is basic. It's kind of a memoir. It's humorous essays, but really, I got tired of the doom and gloom and all the negativity that I heard every single day. And I said, I don't think it's that bad if you take the time to look around and catch little glimpses of God. And by God, I'm talking about tenderness, moments of grace, kindness. And once I made the decision to do that, to look around and consciously look for little glimpses of God, I thought, wow, you start noticing how much goodness is actually out there.
I love that.
And it was truly an epiphany for me. And so I want to ask you, as you bang around New York City and travel the world, do you see little glimpses of God, moments of unexpected kindness or tenderness?
Oh, yeah, all the time. New Yorkers are really very kind people. You know, we got some rough edges and we're in a hurry, but I've seen some kindness here. Incredible. If somebody falls, somebody has an accident, there's like 10 people surrounding that person. Are you okay? What do you need? Calling 911. And also things like you don't expect like the birds and the little, Central Park with the animals and the beauty. There's a lot of beauty in this city, and you just have to find it.
Take the time to look around.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I know what you're saying is true because my wife, Angelina, tripped on the sidewalk. Within a split second, 3 people were there. Are you okay? They helped her up. And you see that. Or even, I mentioned this in the book, that even holding the door open for a stranger, going to a
That's right.
deli.
That's right.
That's a moment of kindness.
Exactly.
And I don't want us to be in such a hurry and be so frantic in our lives that we don't take the time to notice those little glimpses like that, because that's so important. Like you said, noticing the birds, in the trees or the squirrels but you have to wake up and kind of look around because it's easier to put on the blinders and just go, I got to get through my day. I got a to-do list and you go, no, stop, take a breath,
Exactly.
open up and look around. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well, you're beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Olga, you are a blessing to me and so many.
Thank
And
you so much.
you
Matt.
are one of the most talented people I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And thank you for being on Glimpses.
Such a pleasure. Anytime, Matt.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this podcast. Thank you for joining us on Glimpses. As you go about your day, take the time to look around and catch a glimpse. My friends, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Glimpses. Speaking of, Glimpses is now available for purchase at your online retailer of choice. And the best part? Every penny earned will be going to charities who support children in need. You can get your copy in the link below. Until next time, have an amazing day.